Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniX TCG, and today we are going to be going over a bit of a comprehensive, kind of what to look out for in this upcoming regional meta. If you guys know, 3 of the metas are going to be set 1, whereas the PPG regional is going to be based in set 2. So for the set 1ers, I want to start going into some breakdowns that'll really help you get your game in the right place where it's supposed to be. And then, we're also going to be doing a lot of breakdown videos that go into each color after we do this comprehensive one. And then we're going to be also doing in-depth articles on Patreon, starting with breaking down green, all the ins and outs of that matchup, playing the color, playing against the color. And yeah, so I hope you guys are really interested. Just want to let you guys know, we have a 100 like goal on this video, so I hope we can break that as we normally do. And last but not least, before we jump into the content, we are sitting here sponsored by Mystic TCG, as well as the Canadian store G3. So whether you guys live in America or Canada, you guys can get your TCG product, you guys can have places to play. These stores both hold events, and you can find codes to get discounts off in the description for both stores, so hop over there. Now let's get into the content. So this is going to be condensed because, like I said, we're going to do videos for breaking down of each color, as well as Patreon articles breaking down each color. But what we have going on here is, first we want to get the elephant in the room out of the way, and that is green. Every set is going to have 1 to 2 colors that feel like they're particularly strong. It's just the way designs normally go. It's very rare that a set has just 1 color, or every color being balanced as possible. But this set, unfortunately, or fortunately if you like the color, it is green. Now, I personally not only don't like the way green is slightly unbalanced, I also don't like the green versus green matchup. But we're going to talk about the main card that polarizes the meta, and that is 8-cost Broly. 8-cost Broly is just sitting at a point where, between his cost and his power, he's extremely hard to remove. He has a pseudo dual attack effect, so he's swinging twice with his giant 45k body, and then on top of that, he pops any battle card he could look at, plus he draws a card, meaning that you replace him in hand, he's essentially floating in advantage. He is a massive juggernaut, and yeah, most decks cannot take 2 of these on the field. 2 sequential Brolys will generally win a game unless you are actually playing against either green itself, because their Broly can remove your Broly, or potentially yellow, where they can lock your Broly down if you swing with it twice, or if they have the energy to tap it down and then lock it. So with that being said, I feel like most colors in the game, essentially you have to ask yourself, are you going to beat red, or are you going to beat green when it drops its Broly, before it drops its Broly, or are you somehow finding a way to deal with green while it has Broly on the field, preferably before they drop a second one? Now, with this point being around, we're going to start with green, okay? Green is in a position where you are sitting there ramping, and then you are playing these huge payoffs. That is the reason why green is able to succeed, because the payoffs for the ramp are just destructive. And when I say payoffs, I pretty much just mean Broly, because everything else is like the next best card is probably androids, and that's a 6. That's not insanely high to get to. It's definitely Broly. So when you're playing a green deck going into this, I would definitely say one of your best picks, if you wanted to have an all-around good match on the field, is probably Broly. Why? Because not only is Broly a green deck, which is going to hit you with those ramps into the payoff, you are going to have a 25k body on Awakening. Now, the thing here, the reason why that 25k body is good is because, like I said, when you're playing in a field where Broly is pretty much the apex predator, you want to make sure that you are either beating a green deck before they can start dropping multiples, or that you have a way of stopping them from, utilizing it once it's already on the field, which only one color can effectively do right now. So you are looking at either fellow green decks, yellow decks, or aggro decks, which can come in yellow or they can come in red, sometimes in blue, but I feel like Vegeta's kind of the outlier. You're gonna be going wide and pressuring green. Broly's 25k body on Awaken makes it very much so harder to pressure it, simply because most of these go wide strategies are employing 20ks over and over and over again, especially in yellow. Broly's going to not allow that to happen. Whereas if you're playing androids or Gohan, a 20k wide strategy is going to be a strategy that you have to play airtight against, and that might not even get you there. I personally have a pretty good win record with Gohan against these go wide strategies because it's just a matchup I've been trying to focus on a lot. There's a kind of secret of stillness in that matchup that I'll get into in further videos and articles, but most of the time when you're getting like a huge wide board put on you, you have to expend a lot of your hand, you have to ramp tightly, and you have to stabilize with extremely crisp plays, or you're just going to get ran over. Broly mitigates that problem. However, Broly also has to take a life when it awakens, generally putting you at a very, very fragile spot in the green mirror. Mainly because Broly is 8-cost Broly is essentially unblockable outside of super combos plus another card in hand, or Gigantic Meteor, which is the other unbalanced part of green. And when you're looking at that, Broly has to put himself down. If you put enough pressure on the swing that you're going to awaken Broly with, Broly has to essentially go down a life and then take the swing, bringing it from 4 to 3 on Awaken, and then from 3 to 2 from the damage. And then at that point, they are in a weird position. If they have to tap out for Broly, they could very well die the following turn. If they don't tap out for Broly, they could be behind in momentum for the Broly turn, for the Broly War. So you have this like nasty little paradigm that sits there. Now, looking at the other two green decks, I would say that Gohan just has the edge on the androids. Androids have a passive 30k swing, but they don't really do too much more than that. Whereas Broly has the bigger body that can go even to 30k on the offense, and Gohan has essentially a pseudo super combo on built-in. He's got like a plus 15k that you can trash an energy for. That's actually a very, very good effect. And with the 5-drop Goku on board, while you are speeding through your deck, you are going to be able to get that effect off many, many times. The go wide strategies, like I said, are the bane of androids and of Gohan, but you are still going to be able to keep that life when you get up to your higher turns. And androids can actually hit energy levels like nobody's ever seen before, putting you potentially at spaces where you can drop multiple 6-drops in a turn, just huge bombs that just don't like stop getting their value. So green is pretty much in that position. I just have to say that. If you are facing, see, the thing is, green's mid game is its late game. They're getting to 8 when other people are getting to 5 and 6. So when you have green, no deck is beating green in the mid range unless you're playing a very, very, very strictly piloted yellow deck. And even then, they can't high roll you. If they high roll you and they know what they're doing, you are likely to still lose even in that mid range game playing yellow. So you do have to kind of watch out for that. Now, moving past to the weaknesses, when you are playing green, you will have to worry about the fact that, like I said, yellow can go wide and 20k, 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 and then drop you. And that's pretty much any of the decks. Now, while Broly has the bigger body, even though Broly has the 25k body, certain decks can still get around that. Look at decks like Cooler, which can do the 20k spam, but then drop cards like 40k 4-drop Frieza to then swing multiple times in a turn to pressure you even when you're at a 25k body. So just know as green, aggro will always be your thing. You do need to worry about the fact that you can get burst down before you can drop your big drops, and that's just a thing. Green is probably the biggest chunk of this video because green has the biggest target on its back. Just understand that the curve is pretty strong. When you're playing against a Gohan or Broly deck, generally if they don't have the coin, the ideal ramp is going to be turn 3. You're going to have Destructive Strength taking you from 3 to 4. Then on turn 4, you're going to go up to 5, and you're going to play hopefully a Vegeta or Goku going up to 6. And then turn 5, you're going to hopefully play another ramp, taking you from the charge up to 7 to 8. And then on turn 6 and forward, you have access to anything that green wants to play, which is 8 cost Broly, their gigantic meteors on top of it, all these things. So just know that that's that. And if they're going second with the coin, that's turn 2 destructive strength to go from the 3 back to the 3. Turn 4 Vegeta, or sorry, turn 3 Vegeta or Goku to go from your 4 to your 5. And then you have your turn 5 going from 6 7. And then, yeah, so, or sorry, your turn 4. Yeah, there we go. Your turn 4 going from 6 to 7, and then your turn 5 you charge to 8. So if you're going second, the curve comes even faster. So you just have to be cognizant of that. Now, moving to the next color that I think is going to be good at have the best spread, you're looking at yellow. Yellow is a veritable like Swiss Army knife, honestly. You're going to be able to play a low aggro game if you want to, a very nice tempo game if you want to, a very strong mid-range if you want to. And the basic things about this is that yellow has the Ginyu package, which is basically Recoome, the SR Ginyu, which counts Frieza's army, not Ginyu Force. So if you have something like a Sorbet on the board, and then you play Recoome, and then Recoome takes a life, and you play SR Ginyu, that'll untap 2 energy, allowing you to play another 2-drop. And that 2-drop is likely going to be something that you can help self-awaken with. There's a lot of plays you can do, and just that play alone allows you to potentially put 2 or 3 20Ks on board. Like, the pressure that you're able to do starting that up is able to, like, if you have your leader and your leader's at 6 life, right? Playing Recoome, picking up a life, playing the Ginyu SR, untapping 2 energy, and then playing a Zarbon will literally put you at 4 20k attackers to go sideways that turn, with 2 of them untapping. That is a huge boon in order to attempt to go off on your opponent. That's just a really, really good push. But you also have the ability to play coolers, 4-drop Friezas, 5-drop golden Friezas, and that's where the pressure comes from. Frieza's able to amass a huge hand, pseudo-protect its battle cards from being attacked. Now you can be destroyed by effect, which means that every single deck has, outside of yellow, has ways of getting it, but you're going to be able to control your battlefield, you're going to be able to amass a huge battlefield, and a lot of your attackers can also be blockers, or vice versa, so you're going to be able to set up a wall that people have to get through. Very, very good deck. Now, where it fits into that paradigm I said before of whether you stop Broly, or you either stop Broly or you deal with Broly when it's on the field, the 8 cost. Between Goldo and Golden Frieza, you have multiple ways of locking things down. And so when Broly swings, a good Broly player, or a good green player, is only going to swing with Broly once, not twice, until they know it's about to be game or they know they have to get something off the field. This is because Golden Frieza can come down, swing, and make sure Broly can't untap. Or, you know, you can, if they play it, Goldo can come down and then tap it and make sure it can't untap. These are all things that can happen. In fact, you can even also play the 1-drop Frieza to tap it. And then if you have 6 energy, you can also play use the remaining 5 to play Golden Frieza, or using a couple more energy, you can play Goldo. So you have a lot of ways to stop Broly from untapping, and this is kind of a pseudo way of getting rid of the threat of Broly. However, the moment you no longer have access to that Golden Frieza or that Goldo, Broly will untap. So that is a scary part. If they play a second Broly, or if they play like a way to get rid of your Frieza or your Goldo, you need to find another one, or else Broly is the same threat it was before. So this is rather a band-aid for the problem, but if you're beating your opponent's face in, that band-aid could be the solution, you know what I'm feeling? So there is some silver lining in that. I do think that yellow has the best matchups across the board after green. I just think that whereas green has a point in the game where a lot of its bodies are very hard to remove for other colors, that is not the case with yellow. Once you're playing yellow, when 6-drop androids in green will come down and blow up a lot of your stuff. Vegeta, which is a ramp card that all the green decks need to use, that can just actually start tearing apart yellow boards. You get to red, and red has like SR Goku that comes down and just nukes the body. You have lots of combinations of cards. If they want to play SR Beerus, that'll destroy some stuff. You have a lot of stuff that gets in the way. and just remove stuff. Blue has Sickle, which should never be underestimated because Sickle will ruin a yellow player's life. So, yes, just know that while you have a lot of advantage on board and in hand, your board is very fragile to so many things in the format. So you do have to play very smartly. You can't just put your entire hand on a board because that's asking to be SCR'd in green. That's asking to be Beerus SR'd in red. That's asking to be Sickled. And Sickle can be recycled in blue. So just be cognizant of that. Now, moving on to red. Red is kind of in that, like, I'm not going to say rogue tier, but I'm not going to hold you. If you love red, you love red. I personally think that if you're going to one of these upcoming regionals, or you want to win a case tournament, or you want to make sure you win your locals, I do think that yellow and green currently are your best bets. Now, red does have some flex spots though. Red currently has all three of its leaders being viable. I just don't think red is in the most powerful position that it can be this game. You can play flawlessly with red, and sometimes your opponent can just beat you off of sheer card quality. So the three red decks that we're going to talk about, you have Rush Red. This is from the starter set. This is probably the most prevalent red deck you're going to find in the meta right now. But this is the Goku that gives everything plus 5k. That's Universe 7. And that Goku is going to be able to rush to its awakening and then pelt you with 25ks and, like, you know, 30ks and all these things, because everything goes up 5k. The Krillin you use to awaken will swing for he comes out as 15, he goes up to 20 from his own effect, he goes up to 25 from Goku's effect, you know. You're going to be swinging with SR Goku, who's going to be a flat 30k after smoking something 20k or less. You're going to have your Goku SCR go up to 35k instead of the 30k comes out as. Your double strike Goku is going to be 40k. Everything comes out with more pressure, and this allows you to utilize certain cards like the one drop TN, which would normally just be a 10k combo, and a 15k that could swing an unawakened leader is now going to be 20k. So every leader outside of Broly, he's going to actually pressure a lot more. Now the thing about this deck is that you're playing a lot of small cards. So again, green has Vegeta, green has androids, yellow is going to be able to run over your board once it's tapped. You have blue being able to sickle it and run over your board with their, like, small bodies, and then red is going to be like it's a war, because all your stuff and their stuff will remove each other by effect. So you really do have to understand that your board is very fragile, and you have to understand momentum and the precise math of aggro, because most of your bodies shouldn't be surviving more than the round turn that they're put out in most cases, and if you spend too many resources defending them, your hand's gonna bottom out easy. Next, if you wanted to play a all value good stuff type deck, you are going to be running the starter coup. Starter coup is going to be able to run a lot of good bodies that keep your that, like, don't have to be defended that much. Like when I'm talking about this, like, you look at Hit, he's a nice 2 for 20. He's going to be awakening, he's going to be minusing things, that's great. You have the promo Goku, who's a 20 that goes up to 25, which is very, very nice because Goku's effect is going to be able to take him up to 50 or to 30, and then on the defense he can be taken up to 32, which is a really good number for the most part. So the starter coup is going to make it so that you can always put in a random 5k. That's a card in hand if you think about it every time you use this effect. On the defense, your opponent will have to go a little bit higher if they want to for surely kill something, and even then you could just drop the 10k you were gonna drop if they put proper numbers on. So there are a lot of cool things about him. He goes a long way, he saves a lot of cards in hand, pushes cards out of your opponent's hand, and then you're not stuck to playing all Universe 7 or a lower curve. You can play red good stuff. But then there's also Beerus, and Beerus is interesting because I think he's up and he's down. He's going to be able to do quite a lot, and but the thing is, he's essentially a control tempo deck. If you try to run him straight aggro, you're likely to run out of hand before you actually finish off the game, because if you run him straight aggro with a lot of crit, you're not running as many awakeners in your early game when your opponent can starve you the moment you turn a crit attack sideways. If you play him more red generic good stuff, then you have no draw in the early game, exchanging that for crit. You have some really good tempo / removal plays on the back half once he awakens, but you probably could have been playing starter coup and had a better game. I think Beerus is good, I think Beerus kind of needs something more, and I think there's multiple points of the game where if you just don't draw optimal, Beerus can feel very lackluster. So I like him. I'm just saying, this may not be your champion for winning an entire tournament. And then lastly, you have Blue. Blue is a little unfortunate right now because Blue is just missing something. I'm hoping set 2 remedies this, but right now you have 3 decks with Blue, and all 3 of them have some weird things. You have Starter Vegeta, and Starter Vegeta can put on some good aggro because Blue does have some low-to-ground aggro cards, and then when it awakens, it makes almost unavoidable damage unless your opponent wants to drop a super combo. If you want to put a 5K on there, it pretty much is just going to bottom out your opponent's hand, but the cards around Vegeta don't do exactly enough to push through game. You often end up getting your opponent very, very low and then having them stabilize on you and overwhelm you when you play Blue. You pass that and go to Trunks. I think Trunks is the best Blue leader in my opinion, but Trunks, you have to have mental gymnastics to be able to pilot him correctly, only for him to come out to maybe a 7.5 or 8 out of a scale of 10 to 11. So, yeah, you really do have to do the most, and he doesn't even measure up the way I would like him to measure up, mainly because Blue has some issues right now. And then you have Goku Black. Goku Black is essentially a vanilla on the backside outside of dropping a specific 6-drop, which is very devastating. Now, this being said, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you will get paired up against a Goku Black. They will win the die roll, choose to go second, and then it obliterates you. If a Goku Black goes second and literally has my Zamasu and the Goku Black in hand, you're generally gonna get obliterated. You're going to get a turn 1 Mai, a turn 2 Mai into Awakening with the Zamasu being played, and then on their turn 3, they will use the coin to play 6-drop Goku Black. And generally, if that's the case, if they do that on turn 3, most decks have at least 2 to 3 more turns before they have the chance of interacting with that Goku Black. And that's probably too late, because that Goku Black is swinging every turn, and if they're aggressively comboing, then you're getting hit with a fat leader, a Goku Black, and whatever they bring out from that Goku Black, followed by the next turn where they put another card from Goku Black. It's probably unsustainable for almost any deck. That's just too much. So, yeah, that does have the Exodia high roll, but you can't get that every game, and in the games you don't get that, you feel kind of, So, Blue is just in this all-around space where it's rough. And not to mention, you can't get rid of 8-drop Broly. You can't contest 8-drop Broly in Blue. So once it drops, you're just hoping they don't have another one. Spoiler alert, they probably do. Against Yellow, Yellow will just have a field day with your board. They can tap things down, they can constantly swing, they can constantly hammer for 20k. And seeing as that most of the cards want you to be below 7 cards in hand, 7 or less in hand, you really do get blown out by a bunch of 20k swinging at you because it gets you to your threshold and then starts hammering you past your threshold. Sickle is a great card in that matchup, but you need to play a couple copies of it. You don't want to oversaturate your deck because it can be just god awful versus green, and you're going to see a lot of green in the matchup in the format. So right now, Blue's kind of at the bottom of that totem pole. But just to summarize the video, guys, if you're going to, whether it be a locals, a case tournament, any sort of small event before set 2, these regionals, I really do feel like you need to be cognizant of the fact that green probably gives you your best chance of topping. Green plus Broly gives you your maximized chances of topping. If you want to play Gohan or Android, I still think it has just as good of a chance of topping, but you do need to sit down and get your reps versus aggro. You cannot get caught lacking not knowing how to play correctly against aggro. And like I said, I'll be doing more videos breaking down each color. I'm also going to be doing this article for this week on Patreon is going to be a breaking down green, which is going to really talk about all of these things in depth. So I hope you guys enjoy that. I'll have details about that, and I'll drop a post on my socials when you really want to dive into that. So yeah, that'll be released in the next couple days. Then you have yellow. Yellow catch all around good matchups, but you do have to understand that you have to play smart against green. You need to get that matchup down, and you also probably need to get in your red matchups. Like yellow, I think takes the most testing because you need to understand that you are a very strong deck, but you have you have some stopgaps in every color. Like green, you have to navigate expertly in the early game, and you have to also understand how to play while surviving in the late game. Against yellow, that's a huge technical matchup that you will need to understand. Cooler is your best friend. Then against red, their cards are naturally just better against your cards, card for card. So you need to understand how to play that matchup. You need the most testing, but I think if you test well with yellow, you will have some success no matter where you go. Red, that's where you start getting into the card quality versus your skill level. Red will start to have fall off versus a lot of colors in terms of card quality. But if you're tight and you can play just like very well, there's a lot of room for you to operate. It's just that do understand sometimes you will do everything right and just lose to sheer card quality. Blue is blue, unfortunately. We already talked about that, but you're even more so in the card quality position than red was. So I hope you guys like this video, like I said, we will be breaking down things later, huge amounts of stuff between other points, like I said, Patreon, this channel, more. And yeah, like I said, visit G3 if you are a Canadian player or you just want to order from them. But I also have Mr. CG for America. Codes will be in the description for both, so no matter where you are on this continent, except South America, maybe I'll get a South American sponsor, who knows, you will be able to order your cards. So with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Later.